253 DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
This morning, in the darkness, they came by the hundreds. It ended up over 1,000. They lit candles. They sang "This Little Light of Mine." It was an incredible, moving moment. I was not there, but I have seen all the videos. This was the gathering to finish the run. The Eliza Fletcher run that was interrupted in the most tragic way. They came to think about her, to remember her, to honor her. Obviously, a very beautiful moment, and I hope dearly that her family looks upon this with fondness and realizes in a short period of time just how much Eliza Fletcher meant so much to so many people. Did not know this until I read it today and saw that Brooks Monaghan had honored Eliza Fletcher. She began her collegiate athletic career, not as a runner, but as a soccer player, and played on the University of Memphis soccer team in 2006 and 2007. And I believe in 2007, they won the Conference USA Conference Championship. She will be remembered. In fact, there may be more runs like this early in the morning to honor her. I know in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, they are having a Finish Eliza run coming up soon. In Nashville, they are going to do the same thing at an early morning set time. So maybe this will become a tradition. Maybe this will become the beginning of not just a memory, but lessons to learn to run together and to make things more safe. I can only hope something good comes out of all of this. Boy, the Buffalo Bills looked super last night. They looked like they would be going to the Super Bowl, and if they are, then Von Miller becomes the first person ever to go to a Super Bowl on 3 different teams. And if he won one, he's already a Hall of Famer, isn't he? He's won 2 Super Bowls, Certainly. 2 different teams, made the difference actually for both those teams. Like, I'm not sure Denver would have won their Super Bowl with Peyton Manning if it hadn't been for Miller. I mean, the defense was the star of that team. He was the star of their defense. Did the same thing with the Rams last year. He was critical. I'm not saying that Stafford didn't have something to do with it, but that defense was outstanding, and he was, again, an outstanding player. And last night he was amazing. Stafford got sacked 7 times?
I think that's right, yeah, 7 times.
Picked 3? That's because of pressure? I mean, they were all over. There was nothing that he could do. That is for certain. And we've got a whole week of NFL football that we will watch on Sunday. It's good to have it back. And let's not forget college football, all the big games this weekend. And Tigers will take off for Navy. Like very close to after this show. Boom, I'm out of here. I go to the airport. So I am really looking forward to seeing how this team responds. You know, it's a cliche. I do think there's some validity to it. You're more a basketball guy, not a football guy, but you've seen enough football. They say the biggest improvement is between game 1 and game 2. I think that is true. Look, every coach will tell you their goal is to get better each and every week. And that's, you know, part of it. They put in more stuff. You do get into a true routine. It becomes more rhythmic. So I do think good teams do get better every week as they get used to one another. But that biggest step, you get rid of the nerves. You really have your first battle-tested true fire, right? I mean, you can simulate that in fall practice, but everybody's worried about injury. Like tackling isn't quite as good. It gets a little better now that you've seen it. I think, for instance, Navy, which had 7 turnovers all of last year, had 3 in the first 14 minutes last week. Part of the reason why they lost to Delaware. That probably won't happen for them again. They've been in the battle. They've seen what the true speed is like. I think Memphis is going to be faster than Delaware. But the truth is, and Memphis missed all those tackles against Mississippi State, they've seen the video now. They understand a little bit better what it's like with live speed. That's why I think week 1 to week 2, improvement is made.
Certainly. I actually had never heard that, I guess, cliche until this week, but I was thinking a lot about it. And like you said, I don't know as much about football, but in terms of basketball, I know that you learn a lot about your team after you play a game. You don't really know what to work on, what needs improvement, what do we need to focus on in practice until you see that first game. So I would imagine in football, very similarly, like you said, fall camp is just very different than when you get that first game. Okay, now this week of practice, we know exactly the drills we need to do, what we need to work on to improve. Speaking of Navy in particular, I think Navy might be one of the 5 worst teams in the country. Now you have the added dimension of they run a different offense. You just played an air raid offense. It's very different. Two games on the road.
Look, their uniqueness has always been a positive for them. Niumatalolo is limited, right? I mean, you're not getting a kid in because he's a great athlete. First of all, to get into any military academy, you have to be nominated by somebody, usually a congressman, a senator, someone of that ilk. So you got to get nominated. Then you have to be at the top of your class. You have to have been also involved in some form of service, clubs, that sort of thing. You got to be well-rounded. You can't just be an athlete or a great student. There has to be another tangent. Those people are pretty rare. And you've got to be really dedicated because besides being a student athlete, you literally have to do all of the drills and everything that comes with a military academy. So you're not going to get a 5-star guy. Most of the time, every once in a while, a 5-star guy goes, I'm dedicated, I love my country, I want to be in service. Okay, that happens. It's rare. But you're not getting that kind of guy. So he's forced to play this kind of thing because that's, with the size of the athletes they have, that's really what is their best chance at winning. And also, it has evolved over years that no one else plays it. Because now we have bigger, stronger, faster, better quarterbacks, better receivers. The whole complex offense thing has grown. They can't do that. So they stick with this, and now it's unique because nobody ever sees it. Gives them a chance. They're only 6.5-point underdogs. But Memphis can't play as poorly, particularly on defense in tackling, if they're going to win the game. Now, I do think Memphis will win the game. I said it before the season began, and I stick to it. They didn't have a great showing, Navy, but I think they'll play a lot better, but so will Memphis. But I don't know if they're one of the top or one of the 5 worst teams in college football. I mean, do you have Virginia Tech on that list? They lost to ODU.
Certainly. But Old Dominion, I think, isn't bad. I think another Temple got boat raced by Duke 30-0. They're another team, two teams on Memphis' schedule that you certainly can benefit from. 6.5.
And Duke is a big underdog to Northwestern.
That's right. So, I mean, Memphis certainly, like you said, didn't tackle great last week. I think Mississippi State is certainly better than people expected. Only a touchdown, 6.5 points. That seems way too low. At least I know Navy is unique and it's on the road, but that seems far too low in my mind.
There were 2 passages yesterday, 2 people who passed away that were of note. I kind of feel sorry for Bernard Shaw because Bernard Shaw was, I think, incredible. He's a journalist, originally, I believe, from Chicago, so I'm, always a big Chicago guy. But he was the lead anchor for CNN for 20 years. 20 years, the main guy. Passed away at the age of 82. His coverage of the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan, and Donald Shore was his co-host who had come from CBS. So he had pretty big names that had come to begin this fledgling all-network news station. And that coverage, particularly of Shaw, was really the first moment that gave CNN news credibility throughout the country. So he was a terrific guy. Unfortunately, at the age of 82, he passes away the same day Queen Elizabeth dies. Now, Queen Elizabeth, the Today Show, since Savannah, Guthrie, like that, and CNN, every news entity that I've seen, they've spent hours on her reign. Now, I will say she's the longest reigning monarch in the history of the UK monarchy, 70 years. So it's pretty impressive. And she was obviously somebody that many, many people, even beyond the UK, they really cared about. She was an interesting person. I get it. I thought this to myself, seeing the way all of this has unfolded and watching the way they live lives, and she was in Balmoral, which is this beautiful castle in Scotland, thinking to myself, she might, how when somebody passes away, we always say they're going to a better place. Like, can the Queen, the way she was treated in life, is she going to get a better deal in heaven?
You got to think maybe so. The question I was thinking is what happens to her elaborate hat collection. She had hats for every occasion, always wore a different one.
That's going to the hat museum.
Auctioned off, hat museum, something like that.
Wow.
Frame them.
But now they had to change the song. It's Long Live the King.
I was struck by that this morning. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Let's boom. One goes, the next one comes in. This one's 70 years. I'm going to make this very bold prediction. The King Charles reign will not last as long as 70 years.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good there for sure. Did I mention Southern Heritage Classic this weekend? It is. Tennessee State, Jackson State, probably the last one here, maybe the last one between the two. And so we're going to talk with Glenn Rogers Jr. coming up pretty soon here about all of that because he's got a take on it. We'll also, of course, talk high school football, which we always do. Andy Schiffman's going to join us at 10:45. And I want to know what are his players doing as we get ready. We're only weeks away, 5-6 weeks away from NBA camps opening up. And, he pointed out something to me I think everybody will find interesting. So part of an agent's job, not only make deals for your clients, but it's to get your clients, right? So you have to recruit them. And he says now with NIL, there is a bit of a conflict. There's a thinking process that goes through. Should I stay another year in college if I'm guaranteed enough money and enjoy that experience and be a star, or take my chances in the draft? So we'll get his thoughts on all of that. I mentioned to you earlier, we're going to get a new sale from Family Leisure. We got one. Now we've got the world's biggest spa sale. Summer's gone to a close. So take advantage of what they're doing. It's the biggest spa sale ever. To find out more, go to I-40 and Wooden Road. Go to Family Leisure, where family and fun do come together. Is your air conditioning system surviving this hot Memphis summer? I know mine is, because I took advantage of the super tune-up from my friends at Conway. 16-point Energy Saver super tune-up on your air conditioning system. And now, for this few weeks here, before we start talking about getting your heater all checked out and ready to go, $49 with the Freon leak check, with the Teflon coating on the blades in your outside units. $49 right now for that super tune-up from Conway. 384-3511. That is the number to call. So you're all set with all of that. And our title sponsor, well, that's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where you will never pay more than sticker price on a new car. Most dealerships don't have that philosophy, but most dealerships don't retain customers like they do at the corner of Highway 78, Lamar, and Craft Road, the first exit in Mississippi. Turn left, see Chris True and all the gang. They've been there a while. They understand your needs. They understand how much you mean to them. And they take care of you. You'll never pay more than sticker price at Homer Skelton Hyundai. there were a lot of postponements of things. The Premier League in soccer postponed their games this weekend because of Queen Elizabeth and the passing. And the BMW Championship, the European PGA Tour thing that's allowing live players to play, that got postponed yesterday. 8 players played. And, it is pretty obvious. I think they're postponed until Saturday, right? I don't know how they're going to end up finishing this. The animosity, though, continues between the live players and the PGA Tour players. Rory McIlroy was talked about it and said something about, well, what if you're going down the stretch with one of the live players? And he goes, well, that'll be Sunday. That'll be the 4th round. They'll be tired because they don't play 4 rounds. I thought that was a pretty good line.
Extra 18 holes.
Yeah. I mean, can they do it? Can they mentally accept that? Davis Love, by the way, filled out his President Cup team yesterday. Morikawa, Spieth, Horschel, Cam Young, Max Homa, Kevin Kisner. The qualified were Scotty Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Sam Burns. They are the youngest President's Cup team we've ever had. The average age is 29.6. Their average world golf ranking is 11.8. So young but good against an international team that has lost all these live players because they're not allowed to play. Do you know what their average ranking is?
Certainly higher than 11. 18.
Not close.
28.
Not close.
Still not close. 50.
Close.
Really?
48.8. So basically, top 12 against top 50.
I was thinking about the youth you mentioned. That's really good for the sport of golf, though. Like you mentioned, Sam Burns is maybe like a fringe in terms of popularity. Think about how good he is. That's great. Golf is in a really good place, even with the live going on.
It truly is. This portion of the show brought to you by the Spirit Shop. Weekends here. You got so much football to think about. Even if you're tailgating, maybe at a high school game tonight, stop by the Spirit Shop. That they have everything you need for spirits, accessories, all the local beers, all the great wines, all the great liquors, everything you could possibly want. They might even have soda if you're one of those teetotalers going to a high school game tonight. They'll take care of you. They got stuff seasoning you rim glasses with. If it has to do with spirits, they've got it at the Spirit Shop and the nicest people. Eddie Connor and his family, they've been running it since 1969. Family owned and operated. It's that little log cabin you've passed by forever, right down from Clark Tower. Poplar in St. Nick, 4848 Poplar. Stock up, tell them we sent you. Say, hi, Eddie. Go to the Spirit Shop. We take a break. When we come back, Glenn Rogers Jr. is up front and center.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Saturday, legendary college football powerhouses collide as Alabama takes on Texas in the big noon Saturday game of the week on Fox.
Let's go!
Reigning Heisman winner Bryce Young leads the top-ranked Crimson Tide against Quinn Ewers and the Longhorns.
A matchup between two heavyweight fighters.
It all starts at 10 Eastern with the big noon kickoff pregame show. And then it's Alabama, Texas, Saturday at noon Eastern on Fox.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Cruising along on a Friday. What a good Friday. NFL football opens up. college football, week number 2. You can't get any better than that. You might want to celebrate by playing a little golf and going to one of my favorite courses of all time. It's Miramichi in Woodstock, 12 minutes north of downtown, up Highway 51 to Woodstock. I'm just telling you, you can't find a prettier golf course. 330 acres, 7,400 yards of championship golf. You can play it as little as 5,000. Go in the middle like me, 6,300. Lots of fun there, and just so pretty. And then after the round is over, let me just tell you, you sit in the terrace. The weather's going to be perfect. You can watch a little college football on Saturday, NFL football on Sunday. They've got food up there, full-service bar, big screen TVs, and the best view in all of Shelby County, Miramichi. You just can't beat it. I'm telling you, please take the trip. It's the full experience, great practice facility. Every round includes cart and as many range balls as you want to hit. It's just the total experience. It is Miramichi. We are joined now by Glenn Rogers Jr. And you know what? We always talk high school football, and we will with you. But you brought up this morning, this could be the last time we have the Southern Heritage Classic, Fred Jones' beautiful classic that includes fashion shows and golf tournaments and concerts to go with the football game. You know, people forget he was asked by both Tennessee State and Jackson State to put that game on 20-something years ago. And now, of course, Deion Sanders says, it's costing us money to go to. We don't want to come. He doesn't care about the classic part of it. He only cares about the game. I understand where he's coming from, but Fred Jones was asked to put this together, made it a big success. But we may see the end right here. That's part of the history, Glenn Rogers Jr. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, and good morning, Dave, to you and all our listeners. You're absolutely correct, Dave. They asked Fred Jones 20-some plus years ago to put this game together because they thought it was a great idea to host it in Memphis. The city's right in the middle of both schools. And, man, what a joy for Memphis to be hosting that game, the local businesses, the restaurants, the gas stations. It's just been a wonderful event for the city to host. And I'm sure if you talk to the fans from Jackson and Nashville, they've had a wonderful time coming here. And it's sad that, it's possibly be the last year for Jackson State. Deion Sanders has some merit, but I think, like you said, Dave, most of the merit he's talking about is financial gain. And, I don't know all the contract talks. You and I don't know that, but I guarantee you, if both parties could sit down at the table and talk and get something worked out, this could be worked out easily if they just sit at the table and listen to one another. So hopefully they'll do that and keep this game going, because this has been a staple in our community. We need stuff like this to keep positive vibes in the community.
Double-digit millions impact on the community. The bottom line is this: it's money. If you said to Deion, okay, we'll pay for your buses and your hotel, that might be a whole different story.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I both know.
But honestly, Glenn, I don't know if Fred Jones can afford that. I'm not saying he can't, but I'm certain that would be part of the negotiations, because that was the biggest complaint of Deion Sanders. He says, I got to bring 7 buses for the band, for the players, fans got to pay. We got to pay for the hotel. We got to feed them. If those costs were picked up by Fred Jones, plus the guarantee he's giving you, then maybe Deion's tune would be different. I don't know. I got a feeling the SWAC wants him to go play in their deal, whatever they're doing in Birmingham next year. So that could be a part of it. And I believe there's a lawsuit that Fred Jones has out on Jackson State and on the SWAC for this.
Yeah, and, like I said, it's sad that it's coming down to this because, who's affected? The fans, the kids from both schools that are from this area, from Memphis. That's who's affected. And, the city of Memphis could hit a big loss with Jackson State not coming, but hopefully they can get this thing worked out, get the money situation squared away, and both parties could be happy with some kind of negotiation at the table.
I hope that ends up being the case for sure. All right, we're going to talk high school football here in just a second. I just want to let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Sheldon Rosengarten, and everything changes, right? And the market's changed too. Inventory's increasing, the interest rates fluctuating. Buyers still picky about selling a home today, but they they see it as being slightly more challenged. But if you've got a guy that can guide you through the tricky current market conditions, you're okay. And my guy can do that for you. And people aren't calling Sheldon Rosengarten, Mark Spensdorf, the worst golfer in town, or three-putt. They're saying when you want the job done, you call Sheldon with that highly successful strategic marketing program that he's developed over many, many years, and it still works to this day. You will move your home. He's got a really, really terrific strategy that everybody has confidence in. So if you're thinking of selling your home, talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers. Make sure one of them is Sheldon. Sheldon Rosengarten, MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546. Get the job done with Sheldon. Big game this week, Bartlett at Lausanne. Lausanne's got a great quarterback. I think Bartlett's got a decent one, too. Bartlett's 2-1, but they lost to a powerhouse. Lausanne has not lost. They are the number 1 team in both the Dandy Dozen and the Daily Memphian poll. How do you see that game, Mr. Rogers?
Well, I tell you, like you said, Dave, Bartlett went down 2 weeks ago to Hoover and really got, the business handed to him. But this is a tough week to rebound. Lausanne is poised. Kevin LeCastro has done an amazing job. He and his staff. I just see Lausanne keep rolling. They got too much talent to take a step back right now. It'll be a tough ball game, but I see Kevin and Lausanne pulling out the victory.
You do? You got Lausanne
Absolutely.
winning that game.
I got Lausanne winning that game.
Is Lausanne going to be undefeated this year?
I think Lausanne is poised, Dave, to make a big run and maybe give Coach LeCastro his second state championship over there at Lausanne. I think they got the talent to do that. Injuries, we always know injuries can offset a lot of that, but I tell you what, he and his staff, his D coordinator, Chris, former Tiger as well, they're poised and ready to make a big run because they got a lot of talent on their team.
And
led by the Ohio State commitment at quarterback.
Yeah, Brock Glenn is the real deal, right? I mean, if you're going to Ohio State and you're listed as a quarterback recruit at Ohio State and you've got his size and arm strength, the odds are he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the area. I've been thinking about it. That's the one position that Memphis has not really fed a lot of Power 5 schools with, right? I mean, the last guy that I could think of was your guy who ended up going to Ole Miss, and it didn't work out for him there. His name escapes me at the moment.
Barry Brunetti.
Yeah, Barry Brunetti, who was just a great athlete. But I was really thinking about this. When's the last guy, and maybe Memphis has him with Tevin Carter, who probably will play in 3 to 4 games to get redshirted, right, by Ryan Silverfield, and they get a taste. But honestly, when's the last guy between Brunetti and Brock Glenn?
Yeah, it's been a while. Like you said, Kevin's at Memphis. He hadn't really played yet, hadn't been battle tested in college yet. So, I mean, Dave, it's been a long time. We're not known to put quarterbacks out in this area. A lot of great quarterbacks. We got a kid right now, George Hims is at LSU, but he's a walk-on. But like you say, it's been a long time since a quarterback has made a big impact at a major university. It's been a long time, Dave.
No doubt. All right. Another interesting game. This is DeSoto Central, always a good team, coming up from Mississippi to take on Briarcrest. I passed by Briarcrest High School yesterday. I am always impressed with their campus. I mean, campuses at Briarcrest, your place, at St. George's. I mean, these things are like college campuses. They're so beautiful.
Like you said, the money these schools, the MUS, the Briarcrest, the St. George's put into it, that's the schools in our league in general. You think our campuses are impressive. Boy, you go up to Nashville and Chattanooga, Dave, and it's on a whole different level than our campuses. So I think Briarcrest will get the win, coming off a tough week up there last week up in Brentwood Academy. Max Carroll, I think they're a big-time recruit. I think he'll get the troops rallied, he and Coach Stewart. I think they'll get a win today against a DeSoto Central team. It'll be a hard-fought win, but I think Briarcrest in the end will pull it out.
Most people are saying that will be a close game. A lot of people, since I mentioned St. George's, they're 0-3. St. Benedict is 0-3. This is the second year for Joey Magnifico. We had him on the air, and Joey said, look, I want to win 3, 4, 5 games. Doesn't matter. I know we're going to score some points this year. There are some people that are saying Joey and St. Benedict get their first W over St. George's. What does Glenn Rogers Jr. think?
Well, we played St. Benedict last week, Dave, and Joey Magnifico is right. He has a lot of talent. We're the first team that held the offense under their scoring average. Well, they only got 10 points out of us. 8 points. They scored 8 points last week against us. But I tell you what, they are loaded with talent. They got a receiver that can go get the ball. They got a couple of receivers that can go get the ball. They got some young guys on the defensive line. But I think Jordan will get the win tonight. I think they'll get off the snide. 2 0-3 teams battling out. I just give the nod to Joe. I think they'll get his first W of the 2020 season this year against St. George's.
Let me ask you point blank, and you don't usually hedge your thoughts. What's happened to St. George's? You look at that campus. It's gorgeous. You look at when they first started, they were very good. Like 5 years in, they had championship kind of teams. What's happened to that football program?
Well, I think when you're changing coaches, they went through a couple of coaching changes. When you go through that, and then with the economy, COVID, I'm sure like everybody else, they lost a few kids. But prior to that, when you're changing coaches, Ken Netherland left. Then they brought in another coach that left or either got let go. So they've probably been through now 3 coaches in the last 8 years. So, you don't have continuity on the staff. Couple that with kids that, tuition-wise, they probably could afford to go there, but now they're at Collierville and Bartlett and Arlington, the schools that have really came along and built up. Couple that with the coaching changes. It's tough. And so, I can understand St. George is going through some lean times now because certain situations like COVID, they can't control, and the financial crisis, there's some things they just can't control. It's out of their control.
That is one of the things that I really admire about MUS. You're talking about continuity in programs. So you think about this. Since I got here, MUS has had 2 coaches. That's 40 years ago, and I think they haven't had but 2 coaches in 50 to 60 years. Jake Rudolph, who lasted forever. Oh, by the way, he hired a guy named Bobby Alston to be his assistant, and now Alston has been that head coach for, 20, 25 years?
Yeah, Coach Alston's been a head coach for 25, 26 years now, but he was on Jake's staff, so he's been at the school 47 years. And so, like you said, Dave, it's continuity. Our coaching staff has been together over 16 years. I've been with Bobby for 22 years, so we've got a lot of continuity on the staff, and then you can say the same for Whitehaven. Coach Salisbury's been there a while. A lot of continuity on his staff. So when you look at some of the top programs in the city, and Germantown has creeped up in that conversation, but you look at us and Whitehaven, and you throw in the Christian brothers in there, and Briarcrest, because Brian Stewart's been there. He's back there. But he's been there before.
He's a terrific coach. Yeah.
Yeah. So you look at the continuity, and that's why you have success in a lot of these programs because the coaches have been there for a while, and the assistant coaches have lasted there as well.
Since you brought up Germantown, man, that's the best 3-0 team in the state because they've played 3 great opponents. And how about that trick play, which I've seen with 4 different angles, the hook and lateral on the last play to beat Whitehaven. That was amazing. And Whitehaven's got to play Brentwood Academy this week. But your thought on the trick play and how good Germantown might be, and then this matchup at Brentwood, can Whitehaven rebound and pick off? Now, Brentwood's lost one game. They're 2-1, but can they pick off Brentwood in Nashville?
Go back to the hook and ladder, Dave. Gene, the head coach of Germantown, Gene Robinson had big-time play to get them down the field. They went empty. Got everybody out of the backfield. Rodney said one of his safeties just didn't see the adjustment to the formation, didn't get over. Got a big post play down the middle, and then the hook and ladder to put him in the end zone. So that's a big-time call from Gene and his staff. And then, like you said, right now, coming off an emotional loss like that, how quickly can you get your kids up, ready to play a team like Brentwood Academy, who's one of the best teams in the state, one of the best programs in the country? I tell you what, it's a tall task. I think Whitehaven will go up there and put up a hard fight. But I tell you what, Brentwood is a different animal. Those teams out east and in the mid-state and out east, it's just a different animal up there in those neck of the woods. So I'm going to give Brentwood the nod because I think Whitehaven's still going to be reeling from that emotional loss to Salisbury's former staff members.
Couple of other good games. Munford, undefeated. They go to Dyersburg, a tough place to play. Dyersburg is 2-1. What do you think there?
I tell you what, Munford is off to a great start. And like you said, Dyersburg, Dave, anytime you're going to one of these small towns, they close the town down on game night on Friday night. It's a great atmosphere in these small towns. I tell you what, it's going to be a tough, hard-fought victory. I'm going to get a nod to Dyersburg. I think they'll creep out a win, maybe by a field goal. It'll be a close, hard-fought ball game, but I think Dyersburg will pull a win out. But I tell you, it's going to be a dogfight. Because Munford has a real good team, and they've been playing real good football this year.
So J-Mo does analyst on the broadcasts for Munford. How do you break this game down? Do you agree with our coach, Glenn Rogers Jr.?
Going to Dyersburg is definitely tough. It's a different animal on the road, but Dyersburg did lose to Dyer County, which I think is much improved. But Munford, man, they look good. They got a really good running back in there. They got a really good receiver. So I'm going to go the other way, but I agree with Coach. It's going to be a really close game.
All right.
J-Mo, you see Munford up and close, and like I said, Munford is really turned the corner with their program, and I tell you what, Dave, just to backpedal just a little bit, it wouldn't shock me if Munford went in there and got the victory, but it's going to be a tough, hard-fought game, and anytime I think when it's a close, hard-fought game, I try to go with the home team because the crowd will give them a little bit of edge, a little bit of advantage.
I'm going to disagree with you, Coach. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Munford, with that high-powered offense, is going to beat Dyersburg at Dyersburg, get to 4-0, and the state will start to take notice. Sheffield.
There you go. I like that.
Sheffield and Craigmont. Now you got a 3-0 Craigmont. I can't remember the last time they were that high. Taking on Sheffield. It's at Craigmont. That should be incredible. Sheffield's 2-1. So this is a tough early season battle. Who wins it?
Well, Coach Van Hook over at Craigmont has always done an amazing job. He's off to a good start. I'm going to stick in his corner. I think he pulls off the win tonight against a tough and formidable Sheffield opponent.
Last thing, MUS have Raleigh, Egypt. They've not been the same since Major Wright left to go to Central High School. How do you break that game down? And I know you're intimate with the details there.
Yeah, we got to keep performing at a high level. Last week against St. Benedict, I thought our seniors, our defense and our offense came out and took care of business early on. So we got a chance to play some JV guys. It's been a solid week of practice. The seniors have been focused, and, we're not overlooking Raleigh Egypt by any stretch of the imagination, but we've had a real good week of practice. And, next week in Ainsworth's come to town, and so we know we got to take care of business
don't
tonight.
overlook it. Don't overlook Raleigh Egypt. You're talking Ainsworth for me already.
We can't overlook Raleigh Egypt, but I tell you what, it's going to be a tall task next week. But the seniors and the captains know that we can't look forward to next week. We got to take care of business tonight against Raleigh Egypt.
All right, last thing. Do the Tigers bounce back in Annapolis? Your alma mater against the Naval Academy?
Yeah, I think they do, Dave. I think Coach Silverfield and his staff, they addressed some of the issues that they saw in state, especially on the defensive side, the missed tackling, and then on offense, some of the execution. But we saw some promise with the big home run here, that running back. We got to get back to running the football because you and I both know, Dave, Navy is a different animal. They lost last week to Delaware, so I'm sure they're barking things out to their kids. And I tell you, I think the speed and the athleticism tomorrow will win over. And I'm getting the Tigers back on the winning streak up there in Annapolis, Maryland, to defeat Navy.
He's our coach, Glenn Rogers Jr. Have a great weekend, my friend. We'll talk to you next Friday.
And Dave, I want to second my thoughts and prayers goes out to Eliza Fletcher and her family. Knew the young lady very well. Very nice young lady, a great athlete at Hutchinson. And I just really appreciate you getting your show started off with condolences to that family because an outstanding family and outstanding young lady, just a terrible loss for our city.
Oh, yeah, and if we're going to do that, we also have to send out those condolences to the 4 who passed away in that ridiculous rampage
Absolutely.
On
There's a lot of prayers need to go out to those to those families in our city and our mayor. Let's get this thing right now, police chief. Let's get this thing under control and let's keep our city safe for all the citizens. Let's look out for one another.
Yep. Let's start with education. Maybe more money needs to go there to give more hope to those that are impoverished.
To those young men.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank you, Glenn. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Glenn Rogers Jr. brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. Yeah, Matt Eflin and his crew. I'll see him on the airplane today. He's going to Navy. Loves the Tigers so much. He puts their GER in his phone number, 901-386-GER 4777. That's the number to get really great service and protection when it comes to insurance. And they do it a different way. It's a collaborative way. They get to know you. They'll know your family, what your needs are, what your pocketbook is, and then they'll pick out the exact right home or auto insurance program to fit your needs. Then when it comes to life insurance, same thing. What's important to you? Sort of peeking down the road. What do you think? And what your budget is. And then he finds the perfect protection. And if you've got a small to mid-sized business, they are expert in commercial insurance for that kind of entity. And they'll forecast you out and protect you all along the way with whatever you can afford. Call Matt or Grant or Andrew Heath. Again, the number, 901-386-GER. That's 4777. We've talked about all these high school games. But look, when it comes to college football, when it comes to the NFL games, you are looking for a sports book. If you are one of those guys, and we've got a lot, that are into getting the juice, let me just tell you, you need a sports book with integrity, with longevity, and somebody that you feel certain will pay off when you win, right? So you need a sports book that offers everything. Not just NFL, which, by the way, BetUS, 28 years. But they do everything. MLB, NBA, MMA, golf, horses, esports, all kinds of crazy bets. It's full service. Even slots. They have people waiting for you. The coolest European slots going right now. All you got to do is go to BetUS.com. Sign up. You can even call 1-800-79-BET-US. 1-800-79-BET-US. You know you'll get paid. 28 years of it, and the best sign-up bonus, 200%. So please, again, if you go to BetUS.com or call 1-800-79-BET-US, use the promo code SPORTS56RADIO. Sports56Radio. BetUS. That's where the game begins. We will begin to talk NBA with our friend Andy Schiffman. He comes your way in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors. I'm often called Shell Done because I sell homes and work with buyers and I get the job done. There are 7 keys to successfully selling your home quickly at a great price. First, call me. I do my research and advise you on preparation, presentation, and proper pricing that gets you the activity to get the best price. Follow my advice and it can happen. I did mention 7 keys to a successful sale, didn't I? Well, if you use the first key, calling or emailing me, you really don't need the next 6 keys. Remember, that's Sheldon Rosengarten at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. If you don't need me now, write it down for later or for a friend. That's Sheldon at 483-0546 at MemphisRelocate.com. Do it now, and who knows, you may hear your home advertised here. Remember, as bad a golfer as I am, when selling homes, Shell Done gets it done.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions. I'm Brian Elder. It's been a particularly rainy season, and that stain on your ceiling isn't getting any smaller, exposing your family to the possibility of mold. Let me come take a look. 867-0303. Our technicians are Owens Corning Platinum Preferred, so don't let someone tell you that it has to be replaced if all you need is a repair to get several more years of life. 867-0303. Have me on your speed dial for when life's little catastrophes come up. 867-0303. Upgrade your roof to a beautiful Owens Corning Duration Architectural Shingle with a 50-year warranty and an unheard of 25-year labor guarantee. I'll measure your roof from outer space and give you a competitive estimate right over the phone. Buy now and pay nothing till 2022 with approved credit. 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Add a little excitement to your sports watching experience by betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Their app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique, fun bet types like same-game parlay, and exclusive always-on promotions such as enhanced odds boost on the biggest events to let you get more action out of every game day. And if you win, they even get you your winnings safely in as little as 24 hours. If you've never tried FanDuel Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started and be sure to sign up with promo code CASH so they know I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CASH. Must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Chicago we go, our friend, our agent from Priority Sports in the Windy City. That's Andy Schiffman. He joins us now. And, you and I were discussing, some of the topics for today, and I'll get into it a little bit later. What are your guys doing, getting ready for camp and that sort of thing? But you mentioned NIL. And, part of your job is to get new players and to recruit new players. And now you're up against colleges that can offer money. So what does a player do?
Well, it's a very interesting new wrinkle to my industry, Dave. And it's not necessarily being up against colleges. It's really up against other agencies because now we're heading into the second full season where NIL is applicable. And so what we've seen in the last year or so is if you're a player with any ounce of talent to potentially be in the NBA one day, and I'm not talking about just earmarked top 5, top 10 kids. Even if you are on the radar as a 4-star, 5-star, and it might take you a few years, you're entering college now with an agent representing you for NIL. And the whole purpose behind that, which I find is a little absurd. You're going out there talking about agents and agencies recruiting players when they're 15, 16, 17 years old in high school. And the whole purpose behind it is for these agencies to sink their teeth into kids when they're pretty young in hopes that, hey, we are building a relationship now in a transactional sort of relationship, going out there trying to secure you NIL deals in hopes, and there's a hope and an expectation from the agent that they're going to then represent the player when it comes time for that player to enter his name for the draft. And a lot of times, like I said, last year being the first full year, what we saw, that did happen. On the one hand, there's agencies out there that end up representing 20 kids in the draft, which, in my opinion, not the way we do it at Priority. That's a lot of players to handle for one draft class. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there are other times where it kind of backfired. One agency that had Paolo Banchero, #1 overall pick, they had him for NIL even before he played a game at Duke. And then he ended up switching, and Mike Miller represented him with his agency. So it can go either way. I'm not a huge fan of what has unfolded now and talking about just to kind of have your foot in the door. You really have to get in when these are kids in high school. I don't like recruiting kids in high school. But on the flip side of it, like you talked about, in terms of competing with schools, when a player then evolves through his first year in college and potentially beyond, and then makes the decision to test the waters under the draft, if he still has remaining eligibility left, Dave, he can always go back to school. And so now there's that much more incentive to go back to school. If you're coming from a blue blood or a major university that has a big NIL collective, where that school can say, hey, if you come back to our school for your junior year, for your sophomore year, et cetera, we'll give you $1 million in NIL money, as opposed to, you know what, if I enter the draft and it's not a sure thing that I'm going to be a first-round pick, why would I risk going into the draft and just being stuck on a two-way contract or not even being drafted at all, and I could just go back to school and make a lot of money doing NIL. You saw that a lot this year. We had a number of players that made that decision, and they're going to be financially compensated pretty handsomely at the universities that they went back to school to, or transferred in that case. So it definitely added a whole other layer of decision-making and evaluation in terms of what is best for a player going into the draft or staying in school.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers that DeAndre Williams got through NIL from Memphis or the 901 Collective. I really don't. But I would assume that, he probably could have gone and played at Europe. The guy's 26 years old. He could have gone to a lower level in Europe and decided to stay home because he can make money. It is interesting to me because I hadn't really thought about this. But now you actually really have to try to get they can change agents like in the Miller case you just talked about. But for the most part, I don't know what the retention will be, but I'll bet it'll be, pretty high. You've got to start identifying who those guys are that are going to be great players in college, so that you can get them or help them secure through their collectives NIL money and then hope to hold on to them for the draft. This is crazy.
Exactly. And if you're a high schooler that's not necessarily a heralded number 1, number 2 overall pick in a year or two, I don't really know what NIL money there could be for someone in high school that is a really good player that's probably going to be an NBA player one day, but not like a surefire one-and-done player like a Paolo Banchero like we saw last year or Chet Holmgren. So at that case, yeah, if you're an agent, you can go out there and just say, hey, you need an agent doing NIL 100%. But if your overall goal in the future is to represent that young man for the NBA draft, you could be doing yourself more harm than good by kind of setting yourself back a few steps if there's really nothing out there, because you're given this whole sales pitch of what you can do for these players and these families. But again, there has to be a viable market. Because we're talking about marketing, right? There has to be a viable market for these players, for these companies to want to work with them. And really, outside these top players and outside lucrative trading card deals, the national sort of deals, there's not a plethora of them out there for basketball players. Sure, there are some. And you saw Johnny Davis do his Taco Bell commercial, and that was already when he had a really, really successful career at Wisconsin.
Right.
But the big-time deals that these players think they're going to get, you mostly see that in other sports or in college football for sure. But there's not six-figure deals being thrown around to college basketball players.
What are the limitations for you, like with NIL deals? Doesn't that have to be through a collective? The school can't really be involved. The player can with the company, I guess, that does it through this collective. But what's the role the agent can play?
So the agent can definitely go out there and secure NIL deals aside from the collective and the university. The collectors are put into place for the university to essentially compensate the players, and they have this collective that it's made up of whether it's boosters or companies or consultants, et cetera, people affiliated with the university that go out there and bring these deals. So it's almost acting as an agent for the university, but there's nothing against, okay, me as an agent, I have a player that I'm representing for NIL only. I can still go out there and bring deals to these players. We've done that. We've done that for the handful of players that we do represent for NIL purposes: Caleb Love, Marcus Sasser, Zach Edey, Pete Nance. So we're not out there canvassing college basketball like some of these other groups trying to just rack up hundreds of different college players. That just gets too much volume, and we're not really in the business of doing that.
Crazy stuff. All right, we'll chat next week about preparations for the season, what your guys are going through. But enlightening stuff today. You opened our eyes to another whole wrinkle that the NIL brings you.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Andy. Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago. He's brought to you by the good folks who bring you this wonderful Pilsner that's made in Memphis. It's called Poppy's Pils. Light, crisp, and refreshing. Again, made right here in Memphis by Grind City Brewing. You can sort of sit back, relax, and enjoy whatever the weekend may bring you. Or maybe you've sweated out there. You've done the lawn. You've worked on your pool. Maybe you played golf. Now you're looking, just sit back and relax. Or maybe you're looking to tailgate all weekend long. Well, I've got the product for you, the light, crisp, and refreshing Pilsner. My kids like to say ultra crushable, available in 6-packs or 15-packs all throughout Memphis. The only thing I tell you that's really important when you go by Grind City's Poppy's Pils, that great Pilsner, make sure you get it cold. Best enjoyed ice cold. That's it. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy it. That's Poppy's Pils, that great Pilsner that comes your way from Grind City. Have a terrific weekend, everybody. I'll tell you what Annapolis is all about on Monday. See you then.